Good morning and welcome, everyone, to the Student Sports Podcast. My name is Tyler Hollingsworth, and I will be your host for today. This is a really exciting episode because this is our first one. And today in studio, we've got Antonie Nortje. He is an international athlete, South African by birth, currently residing in Los Angeles and attending UCLA. Matt, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure, man. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself so our listeners can get to know you.
Okay, so my name is Antonie Nortje. I grew up in a small town right outside of Pretoria named Bronkhorstspruit. We moved into Pretoria when I was about 11, 12 years old, and I started my primary school in Laerskool Garsfontein, then proceeded to Hoërskool Garsfontein afterwards. I've kind of lived in Pretoria my entire life. That's why I know most things, know most people. That's where I've had most of my experiences in life. And starting off in high school, I did 3 sports. I did field hockey, rugby, and track. And then when I turned 15, I left rugby. And then after age 16 was when I left hockey as well. And that's when I really started pursuing track as my only sport. And it's been a good journey. I've been blessed to have good parents that provided it for me during my life. And, I've just had all the opportunities necessary to propel me forward in life. So
nice. So you're an athlete. You're a 102, well, not 100, you're a 200 and a 400 meter specialist. Tell us a little about your journey getting into those events. How did you get started? And was there a point in your life where you realized that you were just better than anyone else? Was there like a time you're like, right, I'm going to put the hammer down and, really go after this?
So it's actually quite the opposite. I started off as a 100-meter athlete. I remember in primary school, I used to always place third at district champs, third place. So I never quite made it past districts in primary school. So when I hit high school and I had the opportunity to move up to the 400, I took it because I just wasn't fast enough to be competitive in the 100. I was fast, but not quite as fast as the other kids around me. So when I hit high school, stepped up to the 400 meter, and that's when I really started seeing success in the sport of track and field. So yeah, it wasn't quite a choice. It was more of like a forced, what do you call it? A forced push onto the 400 meter event, just simply because I wasn't fast enough. And I do think I'm built for the 400 too, being tall, being a little bit skinnier. So yeah, I think I made the right move stepping up. So
yeah. And when you were in school, did you just run with the school team, or did you have a private coach that would train you on the 200 and 400?
So a coach Audrey used to coach me from primary school onward, and fortunately she did coach at the high school at Hoërskool Garsfontein. So that relationship between the school and my coach has always been very good. So I was fortunate to be in that position. But yeah, I've been coached by Coach Audrey since I was 10 years old. And then when I turned 16, she left to go coach the Indian Olympic team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she left for 2 years and then came back. That was a good journey for her. So, but yeah, I've been coached by pretty much the same coach my entire life. So, yeah.
And so you're currently at UCLA in the States. Is she still a part of your coaching, setup? Do you still stay in contact with her? And how does she help you now?
I definitely still stay in contact with her. It might not be a coaching relationship anymore, or at least as much as it was back then, but she's definitely still a part of my journey. And I do believe if I do go pro, she's going to be my professional coach. So
okay,
hopefully that pans out in the future. But don't want to look too far ahead.
Well, I hope she's listening. Those are very kind words. And when you're traveling the world, winning gold medals at the Olympics, I'm sure she's going to be there next year.
She's going to be in my corner, guiding me every step.
Love it, man. So today I really want to dig into your journey to the States. So you obviously were a very talented high school athlete. You went through the recruitment journey, started off in Texas, and then you moved to UCLA. Tell us a little bit about that recruitment journey, starting with what made you want to consider the USA as a destination to run and study?
Okay, so my track career kind of took off late 15 years old, early 16 years old. And that was also around the time when my coach left to go coach the Indian Olympic team. So when that happened, I was certain that I was not going to stay in South Africa afterwards. So the first thing I did was I went on Instagram and I saw a page called USA Scholarships. I said, this sounds like me. So went on there, started chatting to Tyler back then, because I'm sure you were on the social media back then. And things just kind of took off from there. Started working with you guys. And it was a year and a half journey. But don't regret anything, man. Don't regret anything.
Yeah.
So you guys really, really did help me answer a lot of questions, because back then it was just a dream. And then when I sat down with you guys, I was like, oh, okay, we can actually turn this into reality now. So
absolutely. Yeah, and you were I was quite impressed. So I'm the founder of a company called Aspire Atlantic. We help students study abroad, and if they're good enough, like Matt is, we can assist them in finding funding for their sports. And Matt, you approached us in quite a unique way. You kind of had this proposal like, I'm the national champion, I'm number one in South Africa. Let me come on board. Let me be almost a brand ambassador for you guys, and you guys can in return use me as marketing to assist your brand, which we did. And with joining Aspire Atlantic and going through the whole recruitment process, can you remember if there were any challenges that you faced? What types of schools were you talking to? Tell us a little bit about your journey within the recruitment process.
So the hardest part for me back then was definitely the SAT, the availability of it, because obviously the SAT isn't taken every week. So it's just once you get the SAT out the way, the TOEFL test out the way, all of those things, that's obviously only for Afrikaans students. But once you get those out the way, you can start talking to coaches. And that was probably the most fun part of the journey, was just communicating to coaches and just seeing where you're going to end up for the next 4 years. Well, it was 2 years for me, but 4 years or however long it may be. But it wasn't a struggle. It was more of a stressful process, which is why I think working with somebody like Aspire is very crucial, because you forget one thing, everything's out the window. So small things like translating your report cards, stuff like that, that's very, very crucial. So it's just been a lot easier with you guys in my corner, because I know I'm not going to forget something tiny, something tedious. So
it was nice having someone with experience in your corner that can be able to guide you through the various steps of the process. And then tell us a little bit more about the types of schools you were talking to and why you chose to attend the University of Texas.
So back then I was talking to a lot of schools, but I was mainly talking to LSU, Texas. I was talking to UCLA a bit back then, but not too much. But I was talking to, who else was I talking to? I was talking to a lot of schools, except schools like Florida. I wasn't talking to. Auburn wasn't talking to. Pretty much anything in the SEC I wasn't talking to, because I just wasn't on that level yet.
Okay. Yeah. So you were good enough to be talking to major universities, but just the target universities you maybe weren't. You're probably good enough to make those teams, right? But just, you were looking for a big scholarship, trying to go somewhere and, establish yourself as a top athlete instead of maybe going to be like a fringe athlete who needs to work their way up. Is that correct?
Yes. So I was focused on the Big 12, the Big 10, the Pac-12. Those were really the three conferences
Okay.
I was really, really focused on, because I knew I could run myself into a big scholarship, but also be comfortable enough to not be like the weakest guy on the team or the best guy on the team. So
Okay.
it was like that perfect balance between
Right.
I'm getting enough money and I'm also getting enough push to propel myself forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously you started off at Texas. What was it like as a freshman coming in, leaving South Africa, leaving your family and going into a whole new world and culture? What was that like as a freshman?
It was interesting, man. I remember when I hopped on the plane as an 18-year-old, and I didn't know what to expect, because back then it was COVID. So it was I arrived on campus. Campus was quiet. The coach came and picked me up at like 11 p.m. at night. It was all just too much, and I'm thankful that I took it all in when it happened, because an experience like that only happens once in your lifetime. So yeah, it was just fun, man. It was just fun. Booked into the dorms, met the team. It was just a fun experience all around.
Okay. So when was your freshman year? Which year?
So I started for university calendars in the US mid-year. So I went to Texas January of 2021.
Okay. So so you're pretty much in the thick of it. So, COVID was must have been a challenging experience for you, man. So obviously your first year was not your typical freshman experience, obviously. But would you say, college life outside of athletics is what you see in the movies, or is it very, very different as to how they portray it online?
You can definitely turn it into a movie lifestyle if you want to. That's fortunately not the case for most student athletes. I mean, you could get away with it, but there just isn't enough time. But you can definitely turn it into a movie lifestyle if you want to. The parties over the weekend, all of those things. You can make that happen if you want to. But for most student athletes, that just isn't a possibility, just based off time.
Yeah, you just don't have the time to. So the typical student, movie experience is barely go to class, party it up, have a good time. But your experience is, you obviously got to train. What does your training schedule look like, and how do you balance, training and athletics?
So right now,
academics. Sorry.
At UCLA, I wake up at around 6:30 in the morning. My first class is at 8. And then I have class from 8 to 1. And then we have practice at 2 o'clock till 6:30. And then after that, it's eat, get ready and go to bed. And you do it all over again. The only time you really have any free time is over the weekends, where we'll usually have morning practices around 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And then you have the whole evening free. But yeah, man, it's just about finding the right balance that works for you, because it can get overwhelming if you allow it to, but you just need to find your own peace within the storm at that point, because it is a crazy schedule, especially at the D1 level. So
yeah. So you're training a lot, you got to go to class. In South Africa, where we are speaking right now, generally, a lot of students that we speak with and deal with who are at the university system here don't have to attend lectures. At Texas and UCLA, do you have to attend lectures, or can you just skip them?
So some classes, they do take attendance, and that usually is only the easier classes. Once you get into your advanced mathematics and economics classes, they don't hold attendance, because if you're not in class, you won't make it through.
Okay.
Type deal. So you can definitely skip classes if you want to. You can find a way to make it work, but it's not something I would advise young people doing when they go to college. You are there, you are paying a lot of money, and I think taking in the whole experience of going to class, studying at 9 o'clock at night, it's just all worth it at the end.
Okay. And then obviously traveling is quite a big thing. You know, your conferences are not just in like the neighboring city or the neighboring town. They're across the country. What's that like? What's the travel look like? What's that experience? And how do you, how do you maintain your marks crossing the country?
Travel is it's fun. It's beyond anything. It's fun. I get to see the whole US in the span of 4 years. You know, we've traveled all the way from Oregon to New York to Louisiana. You know, I've been almost everywhere in the US by now. But it definitely does make the academic side a little bit more tedious than it needs to be, because now you're on a plane studying for an exam that you're writing on Monday. But it's once again, it's just back to time management. You know, you need to make sure that when you land and you're at the hotel, you're working, you're doing your schoolwork. But it's definitely fun. The experience of traveling and seeing new places, meeting new types of people, especially in the US, because people in New York aren't the same people in Los Angeles. You know, it's like it could be two different countries for all I care. But it's definitely worth it in the end. And it's, I would say, the most fun part about the university college experience in the US.
So yeah, you get to see a lot, and you mentioned flights. So now, with regards to hotels and flights, who pays for that? Do the students have to fund it, or is that university funded?
That's all funded by the university.
Wow.
And then once you reach the later stages like regionals or nationals, that's when NCAA pays for all of those expenses. But up until then, the school pays for everything.
Tell us about your performances in the States. How have you performed since you've been over there?
So at Texas, my first year, performances weren't too great at Texas. I got a hamstring injury around March, and it took me about a month and a half to recover from that. So my university running wasn't that good, but after that we went to world juniors, where I ended up running very, very well. And then the next year at Texas again, I got injured in February. This time I got a stress fracture in my lower back, so I was out for the entire season. But when we ended up winning nationals as a team indoors at Texas that year, so I might not have seen a success individually, but on a team scale we definitely saw major success.
Okay. So
that injury was one of the main reasons that pushed me away from Texas, and I ended up at UCLA. But we'll talk about that later, I assume. But,
yeah, let's talk about it now. So it sounds like you went to Texas, and you were plagued by some injuries. Do you believe that it was under preparation, over preparation? What do you think caused these problems in your body and your performances?
I think it just wasn't a match. I think the program at Texas is obviously one of the best in the countries. They won nationals a year ago, and the coaching staff, the training staff, everybody there is just sensational. It's just, I didn't think that program was a match for me on a physical level. So yeah, it just didn't work out the way we hoped it would. So no hard feelings towards anybody. I have nothing but love for Coach Flo, Coach Ricky, the training staff, everybody there. They believed in me when not all of the schools did. So yeah, I have nothing but love and thankfulness for them trying for 2 years to make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I guess as an elite athlete, that's going to happen. I mean, you do see it not just in athletics, you see it in other sports too. You see like world-class athletes leaving. For example, I'm a Liverpool fan. You have the likes of like Mane going to Bayern Munich, where it doesn't work out, and now he's moving away from there. So I guess it's just going to be an individual fit. Sometimes it's maybe you're not clicking with the culture, the team environment, the coaches, the training. It might not work. Whereas sometimes you'll go to a university or a professional team, and an average player can just thrive in that environment. I'm guessing that may have happened to you, just might not have been a good fit for you and your style and your build.
That's what I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't think it was anything to do with the environment or the people. I just think the program itself just wasn't for me. But yeah, I mean, I actually quite enjoyed Texas as a school. You know, the people there were not a lot like South Africa, but definitely a lot more alike than Los Angeles. So, you know, really enjoyed that school.
Tell us more about your experiences at Texas and the people and the culture, because obviously there's a difference. Tell us about your experience. Tell us about the facilities, the dorms, the people, the culture.
Okay, so my dorm the first year was, I think it was the best room I could have possibly gotten. I had this perfect view over the football stadium, and it was smack dab in the center of campus. So really got blessed with that. But the food, the people, it's Texas really is just a wonderful place to be in if you're going anywhere in the US. Like they really do take that saying of what do you call it? Southern hospitality to a next level over there. And I just think it was the perfect balance between conservative and liberal. Obviously, being Austin, which is classified as more of a liberal place, but yeah, I just think it had the perfect balance of everything, and the cultures are just mixed so well in there. And yeah, it was a great place to be in. Great place to have spent my first 2 years in.
So you mentioned that you stayed on campus and you overlooked the stadium.
Yeah.
Tell us about the facilities and what it's like to run at Texas in those facilities, and also what's it like just going to a college football game?
The facilities was definitely some of the best you'll see anywhere around the world. You know, we had our own field house, we had our own track, beautiful grass field on the inside. It's there's locker rooms, there's fueling stations, there's a weight room specifically for us. It's everything was there for you to be great. So yeah, I mean, it was something to see. Like, especially coming from here, it's like there's only a couple of tracks in the whole country. Over there, there's like 9 tracks within the span of 10 square miles. Wow. Know? So yeah, it's definitely something to experience.
And you mentioned you had your own track with a field, and then you also had a field house, which is separate, right?
Yeah.
So your track is for outdoor, and then your field house is indoor.
Yeah, so we did not have an indoor track at Texas.
Okay.
Simply because we didn't need one. We had great weather, not all year round, but 10 months, 11 months out of the year, we had perfect weather almost. So we didn't need it as much as a school like Iowa did, where it's like snowing for 9 months. So yeah, we had our outdoor track, and then right next to it, we had our field house. And inside of the field house was our training room, our fueling station, our locker rooms. We had a lounge where there was like 10 TVs, 5 couches. You could just relax there in between maybe a class and a workout or anything like that. And then the fueling station was there for when you needed a snack, once again before or after your workout. So it's yeah, it was everything was there. Everything you could possibly imagine and more was there for you to use.
Wow. So it really sounds like the movies. There's like a fueling station where you can just walk up and grab a snack, grab a protein shake, grab a Gatorade or anything like that.
And that's the track stuff. The football stuff is beyond anything you can imagine. They have like rooms where they have sleeping pods for athletes.
Wow.
They have theaters inside there. It's like that football stadium is like an all-encompassing like house where people could literally live there, eat there, sleep there, everything. So yeah, but definitely blessed with having some of the best facilities anywhere you could find in the world. So.
Wow. That's incredible, man. That's so cool. Even I'm getting excited listening to this. And I was also a college athlete at one point. Didn't go to the same type of institutions as you, but had a fair share of my experiences. And then, so with access to these field houses and these, fueling stations and these locker rooms, could anyone get in there, or would you have to be an athlete? And could you gain access to the football facilities too, or not?
So every sport had its own building or area that was a cut off. There were some communal areas like the student athlete dining hall at Texas where all of the sports kind of met. But no, I as a track and field athlete can't get into the football stuff. Likewise, they can't get into the track and field stuff. So most of it is guarded by either a fingerprint scan, you scan your ID, something like that. But yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't mix. Like I couldn't go into the theater inside of the football building, even though I would have if I could. I would have if I could. But yeah, that unfortunately doesn't happen.
And then, with regards to football games, did you go watch any football games?
I went to a couple at Texas. It was something, like you're waiting for the team to run onto the field and there's like F-45 jets flying overhead. It's like, this is college, but it's like they take it like it's a professional match, 100,000 people packed out into one stadium cheering for one team. So that was definitely like, oh, this is how big it gets, like I've been to rugby matches at Loftus and it just doesn't compare, like this is 100,000 people, most of them wearing orange in the same stadium, shouting for the same team. It's something special.
It's amazing, man. That's really, really awesome. Tell us about your experiences at UCLA. How does it differ to Texas?
So UCLA, the first thing I noticed was it's a lot more of a high-paced vibe. Texas was kind of a little bit more laid back. In Los Angeles, everybody is trying to, as they would say, go get the bag, go get the money, So everybody's rushing to class, rushing back, studying hard, doing all these things. So the environments at UCLA is definitely more of a, I'm going to get this done and then do whatever's next type of vibe. Whereas in Texas, it was a little bit more laid back. People kind of enjoyed the process. But yeah, it's I like both environments. If you ask me which I like more, I would say Texas. But UCLA is definitely nice. The campus is beautiful. It's situated in this middle of two hills. So on the left hand side you have Ballet, on the other side you have West Hollywood.
Right.
So it's like we're like enclosed in between these like movie places, like Ballet is right there. Like you can walk across the street. Like I'm walking to class and I see 3 Bentleys driving by, 2 Rolls Royces driving by, Ferraris, Porsches, anything you can imagine. It's just driving by casually on their way to Ballet. So it's a different world out there. But it's interesting. It's interesting.
So completely different experience. So Texas was much more like country, homely, like you mentioned, Southern hospitality. In LA, it's obviously a city. It's known for its movies and its go-getters and its movers and shakers. And you're next to West Hollywood, or you're in between West Hollywood and Bel Air. That's where the campus is. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah,
really, really awesome.
Definitely more of a hustle bustle environment, but as you can see, it pays off. All those cars driving by, you can see it pays off. So yeah.
And then the people. Tell us about your relationships with like your teammates at UCLA. Completely different vibe or similar?
So I'm a firm believer that the better the team gets, the worse the team environment gets. I mean, if you're at a school like let's say Florida, when you're on that team, you're surrounded by people that are literally like some of the best in the world. Like these are individual characters that are just trying to be the best.
Okay.
And even though you're teammates, there can only be one winner, So I'm a firm believer that the better the school gets in terms of sport, even academics, like a school like UCLA, which is the #1 public university academically in the country, it's a lot more of a cutthroat environment, because if our class is marked on a grading scale, I just need to beat you, So it's one of those, like, you want to be teammates, but it's like we all have to get our bread at the end of the day. So the environment at Texas was a little bit more of a competitive atmosphere than UCLA, I'd say. UCLA is a lot more of a homely, people actually enjoy each other's company. After track and field practice, people would actually hang out with each other, spend time with each other. So
Is this at Texas or UCLA?
At UCLA.
They hang out with each other.
They hang out with each other. You know, we after practice in the weight room, we'll be in the training room chatting it up, talking about our days, stuff like that. So I definitely enjoy the team environment a lot more at UCLA.
Wow. So it wasn't like that at Texas. It was much more competitive and cutthroat.
It definitely was. You could blame it on the fact of COVID and like people just weren't as social back then as they could have been now. But I definitely say the environment at UCLA is a lot more of a team build environment as opposed to a couple of individuals that are just coming together to accomplish something.
And I guess that's what you want, right? The team may have been stronger at your previous universities, but you also, emotionally and psychologically, you want to be able to bond with your teammates. You want to be able to lean on them and support them. And the same with your coaches. You want to be able to have real vulnerable conversations with them. You feel you're able to do that a little bit more. Maybe the team isn't stronger, but your performances, are they getting better? Or
it's hard to say. This has been my first year in like 3 or 4 years where I've been injury free. So that by itself is enough of a pointer towards I'm going up, as opposed to just another season where I get injured, try to make it back. So I would say the team environment does help me a lot. It's I might not feel that way, but just the fact of me being healthy the whole season should point towards maybe sometimes you do need to let off the I want to be the best attitude and just kind of focused on it's a team. Let's help each other through a workout. Let's help each other through our days. And I think if everybody does that, then everybody will succeed. So it's just about finding that right balance for you, finding the right environment for you, which is why it's very important to talk to your coaches before signing. Make sure this is the right place for you, because not everybody is fortunate to be able to go to a university, get injured, and then transfer. Sometimes you go to a university, you get injured, you hop in the portal, and nobody wants you. So it's about really having those important conversations with your coach about, is this the right fit for me? Like, it might be the best university in the world, but is it going to work out for you as an individual, as a human? Are you going to survive in that atmosphere? So it's just about being honest with yourself and saying, okay, this is the best choice for me as an athlete, as an individual, as a human, and just, yeah.
It's important. And you mentioned fit quite a bit. It must be quite challenging, especially for international athletes, to be able to gauge which is the right fit for me. We hear of all these wonderful universities, UCLA, Texas, all these fantastic places. Did you get the opportunity to go across there and meet the coaches and tour the campuses before you signed? Or did you just sign just based over video call and emails?
I was actually on my way to Penn State the week after junior nationals in battle, and obviously COVID happened, so nationals didn't even happen. So I did not get the opportunity to go tour any campuses, meet any coaches in person. So I do think that would make a big difference if you could actually go there, see the campus, meet the people, and just be in that environment. But that's obviously not really a choice. What do you call it? A privilege that most people have. So if you do get the chance to do it, I would highly advise you to do it, because it does put the school and the coaches in a whole different light, as opposed to just a WhatsApp video call or Zoom call or a Skype call. People can be completely different people when you meet them in person. So it's very, very important to have serious conversations if you're just doing this over the phone.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what happens to the majority of athletes. They just do a bit of online research. They, watch a video on YouTube, talk to the coach, and they're like, well, that's the one I want to go to. When in reality, getting on the ground, meeting people, shaking hands, maybe having a meal, touring the campus is maybe a little bit of a richer experience. It might help with that fit. Okay. So Matt, I think we're coming to the end of our first podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Just to finish off, tell us a little bit about what your future looks like. And then if anyone wants to get a hold of you and, track your life overseas, how can they do that?
So you can find me mostly on Instagram. That's really the only social media avenue I have. You can find me on Antonie.Nortje on Instagram. You can reach out via DMs. I do reply every now and then, but not too active on the media, but I do wish to be more active, to reach out to more people and help them through that process, because it is a stressful process. And I would advise people to just have somebody in the corner who can guide them through it. But you can find me Antonie Nortje on Instagram. Maybe I reply, maybe I don't. If I don't, I apologize. I'm just very, very, very busy. But yeah.
Awesome, man. And then where to from here? What are your goals for the next couple of years?
The next couple of years. So next year is the Olympic year. That's the only focus for next year, is making the Olympic team. Whether it's for my individual event or relay, doesn't really matter to me, as long as I just make the team. It's kind of been the goal over the past 3 years, was to just make the Olympic team and then go from there. So definitely making the Olympic team next year is a big deal for me. And then the year after that, just kind of see where it goes, because I do have 2 more years left. So I have next year and then the year after that. So 2 more seasons. And if track works hard, it works hard. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm still studying mathematics right now, so I'm getting a good degree during this process. So if all else fails, mathematics will help me out, I guess.
Awesome. Well, Matt, we wish you all the best with your Olympic journey, and I'm pretty sure you're going to make the team, so good luck with that.
Thank you.
And we'll be following your journey closely. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys.